In my practice, I see a lot of hand injuries, and the two most common things people complain about: the lack of ability to extend the wrist. Imagine trying to do a push-up or a plank, not being able to extend, and also the inability to grip things very well because they have poor strength or they've got pain when they try to grip extremely hard. So stay tuned for this video. We're going to talk about how to take care of that. It's very easy. Welcome to the front row. If this is your first video, remember to check out the rest of the channel. We've got you covered from headaches all the way down to foot pain. Just go to the search bar and type in what you're looking for. If you don't find what you're looking for, let me know. Maybe I'll make you a video. One of the most common injuries with hands and wrists are when you fall on an outstretched hand. Now, based upon the angle in which you fall, if you fall with your wrist and just a little bit of extension, usually you end up breaking the radius, which is the big bone down here. But if you happen to be in full extension, and it's just a natural reaction, right? We're falling, we put our hand out there. Usually what you do is you end up breaking the scaphoid, and we'll talk a little bit about that. In this particular video, we're going to talk about pain with extension or wrist and forearm pain along the thumb side. In a different video, I'll talk about pain along the pinky or the fifth digit side. We'll talk about the thumb pain and what you need to do to take care of it. One of the first things I do when I evaluate a wrist or hand is to determine the range of motion. And the biggest range of motion loss we usually have is an extension. So this is extension and this is flexion. So I get an idea of how far you can move an extension and flexion, and then I'll check ulnar deviation and radial deviation of the wrist. Note if there's any pain in those motions. The next thing we want to do is check strength. So what I like to do is check the pinch or grab between each finger and the thumb. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. First of all, if you have trouble reaching that, then automatically we know there's some restrictions in the carpal bones, or basically the bones of your hands and wrist. If I can touch, then I want to get an idea of the strength. So what I'll have clients do is literally pinch and then try to spread them apart and get an idea of the strength. If you want to do this at home, just grab a book, pinch between two fingers, and pull down and kind of get an idea of the level of strength you have, and also if there's any pain with that. That gives us an idea of what we need to do. So in this situation here, in this video, I'm talking about pain with the thumb. So imagine gripping something or trying to, sorry, drop the book. So imagine trying to grip something and then having pain along this lateral edge of the thumb that maybe even radiates into the forearm. The first thing we have to do is identify where the scaphoid is. And it's in the anatomical snuff box. So what you'll do is you're going to, easy to find, you're going to pull your thumb up and it makes a little bit of the snuff box right here. And at the bottom of the snuff box, that's the scaphoid. Remember, when you're mobilizing the scaphoid, most of the time it's going to be stuck in flexion or your wrist down, and extension is going to be painful. And the reason is especially if you fall on an outstretched hand, the scaphoid gets jammed up and underneath this radius. So then when I try to go into extension, the scaphoid hits the end of the radius, causing pain. So I come through here, I found the scaphoid. We've already talked about how to find it. Right hand's on the lunate, and I'm going to create a little bit of traction. So I'm going to pull down to create some space, and then I'm going to work it down into extension. Now along the way, when I hit that first barrier, what I'm going to have my patient do is take their hand and push it down, or basically flex their wrist. But I'm not going to let it move. It's going to be an isometric contraction. So they're going to flex, I'm going to hold it, and then when they relax, I'm going to work it further into extension. Flex again, I hold it for 5 seconds, let them relax, and I go a little bit further into extension. Once I've established extension, then I'm going to work on that side-to-side glide or ulnar or radial deviation and get an idea of how it moves and where it doesn't move. What we basically want to do is reestablish motion. So if it's stuck in a certain plane, we want to try to reestablish motion. A little bit of traction and glide. So extension, and then we've got ulnar deviation and radial deviation. Flexion is usually rarely limited with the scaphoid injury. You can actually mobilize your scaphoid by yourself as well too. So how do we find it? Anatomical snuff box, which is right there. Let it relax, and I dig in, and that's the scaphoid right there. I'm going to check, usually it's extension that's limited. I'm going to come through here, and it depends upon your grip position as well too, whatever you're more comfortable with. Here I'm going to work it into extension. Right about there I feel a barrier, so I'm going to flex my wrist. I'm exaggerating, but I'm going to push down. I'm going to restrict that motion, and then when it relaxes, I'm going to put a little traction, so I'm pulling up, and I'm working that scaphoid into extension. And I'm trying to free that extension up, so when I pull my wrist back, I'm not getting that pain localized right at the base of that thumb or at the scaphoid. As you can tell, it's pretty easy to mobilize a scaphoid, but yet don't let the simplicity fool you. It can be a powerful technique if you're having wrist pain or trouble gripping. The other place that people have trouble is along the pinky side or the lateral part of the hand as well. And I'll make another video that talks about how to mobilize the lunate and basically reestablish extension and flexion, ulnar radial deviation if you're having restrictions along the outside of your hand. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful and informative. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'd love to hit 10,000 subs by the end of 2020. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.